Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back. It's the Broke Capitalist coming at you on inaugural day. So we're in for something new, but I believe it's a lot of the old. But with that said, I want to jump into this continuation of the dialogue that me and Rodrigo over at Coupe Media had concerning the Black community and socialism. Um, Before we get to that, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to tell you up front what we're going to do in the next 10 minutes or so. We're going to talk about basically, you know, why I believe that the Black community may be the last hope for capitalism. And we're also going to talk about the federal minimum wage and selling chicken dinners. And we're also going to talk about how a currency that's not attached to, let's say, a gold standard allows politicians to basically buy votes via, let's say, UBI. So let's get into this. I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Let me know how you're doing out there. Really appreciate all your comments. Here we go.
So I do want to jump back into the chats. Now, Brittany, I don't know where you got your schooling, but you are on point. You see through the book. I mean, you understand. So, because the point, I mean, you meant when you were talking about affordability to healthcare, right? She made a very, very, very good point, right? You know, I think, people, everything you thought of, forget about it right now. Now listen to this, right? Now listen to this, right? I think it'll be a very different climate if affordability was addressed. Cut all the financing BS, right? Should be able to buy a car, offer a summer job, buy a house in your 20s. That's the actual issue. And she hit it right on the head, right? Like, what are we debating about, right? Like, this is, how do we not see the, just how do we not see all this bullshit, right? But again, right? So, and I do want to address Red Pill, right? So he asked a question. Again, he's coming from Europe. You're coming from a completely different mentality, right? So you just don't understand, right? So he says, if the government can spend so much money on wars, overthrowing other governments, why can't we use some of that money for healthcare and education? You're right, right? But the thing is, if America decided to do that, right? If they stop all the wars, all the invading governments, so, you know, we're going to take this money and we're going to make everything better in America. And they actually did it. Like, they were honest and they did it. A year, 2 years from now, America would completely collapse. Why? Because every other government around the world would stop taking dollars because we devalued it, because we've been printing money, right? They would start using their own currency to trade, and our whole thing would collapse. So yes, for a year or two, we would have all that stuff. But then after 2 years, everything will collapse. Half the population will be poor, the other half would have money, and we would be in a worse position than we're in right now, right? So the reason why they spend all that money going to war and invading countries is to keep the wheel turning here in America, right? They have to do that. They have to go to war. They have to kill people every time they threaten the dollar, because if they don't, then the whole thing collapses, right? So that's why they spend all the money, right? Because they can't afford not to, right? No one, the rest of the world will no longer go along with our bullshit, right? They will never let any of this stuff happen, right? So in the process, yeah, some people are getting rich, and you know, the people who are capitalistic, making businesses, they're getting rich. But as a whole, the whole planet is losing, right? That's why, you know, they could try to predict and say, look, nobody's going to own nothing in a decade or two. Don't worry, right? We already shut everything down. Millions of businesses in the U.S. have gone out of business. Tens of millions around the world. Like, don't worry, all y'all gonna be broke anyway, right? Y'all don't own nothing anyway. Like, we got your mortgage, right? Until you pay us our mortgage, you don't own that house, right? So they all that, like, they let, like, yes, there are people who are prospering, right? There are people who are doing well, right? But the majority of the people, like, if you really don't own any assets, if you really don't own a business, if you can't fend for yourself, you're gonna be fucked. You're gonna be at the mercy of them, right? I mean, this was in their plan, right? If you can't see this is part of their plan, I don't know what to tell you. Like, of 2020, if you can look at 2020 and not see that, I don't know what to tell you.
I would like to humbly address Red Pill's question as well. Yeah, you can print up all the money you want, but because we have a fiat currency, that's not attached to anything. So when a dollar was attached to gold, you could not do what politicians do currently, which is, oh, you got a problem? Don't worry about it. We'll just print off some money for you. Oh, you thinking about getting off the petrodollar? No, you're not, because we're going to print up enough money to create enough missiles to send your way. Now, if the dollar was attached like it was the year I was born, in 71, when it coupled from it, if that was still in place, you couldn't have these policies because you would have to come up with real money. We don't have to do that now. We could just, hey, you need $600? Don't worry, type it up. There it is. But if the dollar was attached to gold, and you're like, oh, you need $600? Oh, that's too bad because we ain't got it. We ain't got it. But now that it's not attached to anything, $600, $1,400, $2,000. What you want? $25,000? Don't matter because they can just create it out of thin air. So yes, now like if you see what I was saying, we're arguing over what degree of socialism we want, as opposed to should we have a more capitalistic point of view or socialistic point of view. How much universal basic income is legitimate? 600 or 2,500? If we were attached to gold, that argument couldn't even exist. You would have to do something else. You would have to basically allow, take away the regulations that are, you know, being a weight on people fending for themselves, you know. But again, we're so far removed from that that we're arguing over what type of socialism we want. You know, we had schools before we had, you know, the United States, what the Secretary of Education, whatever cabinet level that is. We had schools. We had schools since before America was here. Education existed before America got here. So it's not like we need all this government to accomplish what we are accomplishing. It's just we need, I honestly believe that because African Americans are used as this Trojan horse to push through these policies, not just in America, but you got Black Lives Matter chapters all over the world. I was like, man, what's a Black Lives Matter chapter doing in New Zealand? Right? Come on, man. This who's funding these people, right? So we are being used to push these ideologies globally. And I think it'll be up to us to expose this as what it really is, which is we have gone from a nation that considered socialist aspects of socialism like aspects of a safety net in our society because capitalism is so hard. Because there's a, you know, give me liberty or give me death. Like, okay, you're free to die in the street if that idea is bad. You ain't gonna be able to feed your family. That's a reality of capitalism. But capitalism gave the world the greatest economy ever known to man, post Civil War to the Great Depression. And that's, hey, when you talk about black folks and capitalism, that's when the black culture was capitalist. I mean, we were on the grind. Booker T. Washington created, you know, Tuskegee University with the help of, you know, Rockefeller, Carnegie Mellon, and the newly emancipated were out there selling chicken dinners, you know, to help Rockefeller establish this institution. And that institution pushed out a bunch of capitalists with skills, and we can talk about this later, but all of that capitalism, so to speak, really disrupted the market for carpentry. So much so that we now have what's called the federal minimum wage, the Davis-Bacon Act. That was implemented because all of these capitalists from the South with these new skills were coming up north and just undercutting these people in the, you know, the white folks in the north. And what did they do? Instead of competing with the black carpenters, they went to the politicians in the 30s, right? And said, hey, they're undercutting my wages. Do something. Politicians said, okay, we'll federal minimum wage. And we'll rely on your prejudices to have you say, well, if I have to pay somebody $1, I'm gonna pay this white guy $1 instead of this Negro, right? So you see all that to say, historically, unfortunately, African Americans have been used for political purposes. Our plights have been used for political purposes. That purpose has been to push America further and further towards socialism. And I think, you know, we're pretty much here. The door is open. I think we got one foot in it. And I think it's up to us to show this reality. And hopefully people will see it and comprehend it enough to take a step back and consider the door we're actually walking through.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there. It's a lot of stuff in there. I hope you guys got all that. I've been away for a little while, and it's because I'm working on some projects in the background, so to speak. Check out my website. I'm trying to push some things out for Black Victimization, Black History Month. I'm trying to push out a few things. I'm trying to get more of a presence on my own website, just considering what happened to Parler and things like that. I think it's just best if I'm putting any effort into this, that it's not just, we don't like what you got to say, and they just dismiss it. I believe in free speech, whether you like it or not, and whether I like what you're saying or not. I believe you should have the right to say it because, as I always say, sunlight makes the best disinfectant. So with that said, come back for more. Check out more videos like this. Subscribe to the channel if you found this worth your time. And glad you stopped by. And I'll see you soon. Peace. I'm out.